Good morning, guys. So, I have been on a roll with my personal meditation practice. So, I wanted to give you a glimpse inside of what my practice has been looking like. Hopefully, this inspires your practice. This practice of meditation and faith, connecting to a higher power, most importantly, connecting to stillness and presence, this practice has been vital for me. And when I'm well connected to my practice like I am right now, it has rippling benefits across all aspects of my life. So I wanted to share this with you. Again, hopefully it inspires your practice. I think everyone's practice looks a little different. I think the important part is that you have a way to kind of unplug from the noise of the world, the stress, the buzzing mind in order to connect to presence and stillness and faith, whatever that looks like for you. So I want to share this practice with you. I also want to make an invitation to you to a new free community that I'm starting so you can continue to practice with me. I'll share more about that at the end of this video. But a high level look at what my practice looks like right now. First of all, as you can see, I have this dedicated corner set up in my room just for meditation, just for doing this practice. I'm surrounded by many very meaningful spiritual books here that I've read across my life and my inwards journey that have been deeply, deeply inspiring to me. Many teachers that have taught me very many beautiful things. I've got this yoga mat from the dollar store folded in half. I'm sitting up on a nice meditation cushion. And basically, I do two practices per day. I do two practices per day, 20 minutes each. Now, I don't want to claim to be perfect in any way whatsoever. A lot of the times I won't make it to 20 minutes, but I find that intending on 20 minutes gives me enough time to kind of successfully withdraw from all the mind activity and like almost give up in a way and be like, okay, I'm meditating. Let me give everything else up for a moment. And it's in that space that I'm really able to connect to stillness. But so 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. Another thing that I want to say is that ideally, ideally, before my evening session, I will begin to unplug from the world by getting off my phone, getting off technology, unplugging from the world. Ideally like at least 30 minutes to an hour before my session. So then by the time I sit down for my evening session, I'm really almost transitioning into this retreat space. It's almost like a daily retreat from the world where I'm really just unplugging and just connecting to my own center. Okay, so getting off the phone, doing my evening session. Then again, ideally, I will do my morning session. I won't go on my phone from the evening session all the way into my morning session, and I won't, get into my day, get on my phone, do anything like that until after my morning session. So it creates this kind of sacred boundary and this almost, daily retreat into the self, which has been very, very, very powerful for me. Okay, so what does this actually look like? Right now, what this looks like is this. So I have these two books here these are the books that are currently really opening my heart. So what I've been doing is I've been reading a page of each of them every day. So one of them is A Course in Miracles. This is a manual for shifting from fear to love, basically. I feel like that's what every spiritual text is about. So they have a daily workbook. There's one lesson for each day of the year. So I'll just briefly read that. And then I've also been reading one page from this book called Jesus Calling. Now, quick caveat, I'm not a Christian, never went to church, nothing like that. I'm actually more of a Buddhist in the way that I think about things, even in the way that I read this book. But you can't you can't pick and choose which books are going to open your heart. You just kind of have to go with the one that's opening your heart at the time, and this one is doing it for me. This is another one that has one short reading for each day of the year. So I really like this. It's kind of like I've got this one, short, beautiful teaching to read. It's keeping me on track with my daily practice. I'll read these pages very briefly, and then I will sit in my meditation. Now, I should have mentioned, actually, before I start reading the pages, I'll start this 20-minute kitchen timer. It's got these big, bold digits there. And I used to use the Insight Timer app on my phone, but I find even just the presence of my phone is very distracting and makes it more difficult for me to sink into presence and stillness. So I've been enjoying using the kitchen timer. I'll start that timer for 20 minutes. I'll read one page from A Course in Miracles, one page from Jesus Calling, get this beautiful wisdom and information in my mind, and then I will sink into my actual meditation or stillness practice, whatever you want to call it. So basically what this looks like for me is I'll sit in my meditation posture here. I have been honing this posture for 5 years. At this point, this posture feels like home. There's not a single point of tension or discomfort in my body. Once I sit in this posture, it already signals to my mind that it's time to start letting go of the stress, the anxiety, and to sink into stillness. So after I read those pages, I'll relax my arms right here on my legs. I'll close my eyes and begin to connect. So what do I mean by this? Usually, as I go about my day, engage with the world, my mind starts to buzz with these thoughts and these things that I have to do and these problems that I have to solve, and replaying scenarios from the past and thinking about scenarios from the future and how they're going to go. And all of this mind activity creates this buzz that really clouds what's right here, right now. It makes it difficult to see what's right here, right now. So as I sink into this meditation, I start to relax the body. I start to deepen the breath. And usually, I try to sink directly into the center of myself, into stillness. And usually the way that I know I'm doing an effective job of that is I'll start to hear birds that were always chirping, but I wasn't hearing them before. I'll start to hear these birds. I'll start to feel myself in this room. I'll hear distant sounds in this neighborhood. All as my eyes are closed and I'm meditating and deepening the breath and relaxing into myself, into the deepest part of me, into stillness and presence. And I'll hear these sounds and I'll remember, like, oh yeah, this is always here, isn't it? This peace, this stillness. And I'll relax into that, continuing to let go of any mind activity that pops up. And usually once I'm solidly here, I'll then just kind of center my focus on the breath at the tip of the nose and just kind of stay there and do nothing, just stay there. It can be very, very blissful, very peaceful. Problems can begin to unravel, solutions can reveal themselves in this place. Limited beliefs from life, years and years and years can start to seem, those stories will start to crack. A lot of inner growth happens here just by sitting here. Just by not having consumption, not having activity, just by being in silence, there's a lot of growth that happens here. Now, sometimes I have to fight with my mind for a long time, and my mind will really want to engage with problems. This buzzing will be very loud, and I won't quite be able to get to this, state of presence and peace that I'm talking about. And it will take much effort to, be engaged with these thoughts and then remember I'm meditating and come back to the present and try to sink into stillness. A lot of the times what that looks like is I'll just try to focus on my breath. If I'm having a really hard time and I just can't let go of this cloud, this buzzing noise, I'll just okay, let me, relax my body, bring my focus to my breath, try to stay there. It's buzzing, it's buzzing, it's buzzing, but I'm going to try to stay here. Usually over time, and what I found helpful about the 20 minutes, it's long enough that my mind will tend to give up the fight, at least for a moment. At least for a moment, my mind will give up the fight and I'll connect to this stillness that is here. Okay, not always. Sometimes the whole meditation session, my mind just doesn't give up and I can't really connect inwards. Okay, and that's okay. And in fact, if that happens, it's even more important that you keep showing up for this practice and continue to try, because you will connect to that peaceful place. And that's in that place, all the cells of the body are rejuvenated, clear thinking starts to happen, beautiful things start to happen when you can connect to this peace and stillness. And the fascinating thing is, all it is an absence of everything else. It's an absence of consumption. It's an absence of mind noise. It's an absence of engaging with the world. When there's an absence of anything at all, which we're not very used to, we're used to filling all these gaps. But when we can access that gap, there's beauty there. There's very much a beautiful experience there, a clarifying, blissful experience there. So I sit in this practice, in this place of stillness, just breathing until my 20-minute timer goes up. And a lot of the times I don't make it to 20. My mind, pulls me up out of it, and I go and start my day a little bit early. But usually I'm pretty content if I make it beyond 10, 15 minutes. But ideally I'll go to 20. And then what I do is I just have this tracker here. So I have every day of the month. I have a checkbox for AM and PM. And what I'll do is, after my session, I'll check off the box. I'll write down how many minutes I did my practice for. And I'll write any brief notes just so I can kind of keep track of things. So, for example, here on the 13th of January, I wrote, watch the phone use, went till 10:15 p.m. That's quite late. Weak mind buzzing from high energy and a high consumption day, so kind of, realize where I've been, over consuming in bad habits. I'll see how that affected my practice and my inability to get present. I'll note that down, make adjustments for the next day. Here on the very next day, the 14th of January, I wrote bliss waves. So I had a very, very connected session. So it's good to track these things and how the practice is growing and changing. On the 11th of January is actually when I started the read and meditation hybrid. So I wrote started read /medi hybrid, right? So it's cool to just track how the practice is going. I find the checkboxes help keep me consistent and accountable. And this has really been a tremendously beautiful practice. It's just so important to, at least once a day, take an opportunity to withdraw and connect inwards with yourself. It has been hugely, hugely beneficial for me. So that's what my practice looks like now. It has grown and evolved and changed and will continue to over time. But this is what's serving me right now. And if you want to actually join me in this practice, I'm a certified meditation teacher. I've taught meditation many, many times. I want to kind of actually bring you into the practice that I'm doing now. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be reading one page of this book and then leading a short, 10, 15 minute silence practice with a little bit of guidance, and then have a brief chat afterwards. This I'm doing once a week, currently scheduled for Fridays at 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Time, subject to change. This is a free or by donation offering being hosted on my Patreon. So if you want to participate, all you have to do is join the Patreon, and the video call link and the schedule, it will all be right there. So you're very, very welcome to join me there. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. I hope you found some inspiration in this for your own practice. I hope that if it's aligned for you, you'll join me in my meditation community. Um, yeah, thanks so much for watching. Have a beautiful week. Bye.